What's going on, everyone? So, the Los Angeles Lakers, more likely than not, are going to make a trade, maybe even several trades this upcoming offseason. I do think that we'll get a combination of, a couple free agents, got to hit on the key free agents, but a couple free agents and then even potentially a trade or two, particularly for a center. Right, I think more likely than not, if you're looking for a real starting caliber center, Lakers are probably going to have to trade for one, whether it's a Nick Claxton or Mark Williams or whatever, or sign and trade for a Miles Turner, like whatever center ends up becoming available and the Lakers can trade for. I do think that they're probably pulling off a trade for a center. Backup center, I think you're probably looking to sign somebody like Clint Capella or, a Steven Adams or, one of these other guys that may end up becoming a free agent. There's several options. We'll go over some as we continue to progress into the offseason. But one of my concerns is, and it's not like a bad concern, but the chances are of us making several huge impact trades this offseason, I don't know if are as high as it is coming into the trade deadline. And the reason for that is Lakers are very limited on assets, right? But their arguably greatest assets are their expiring contracts. Lakers have like $60 million in expiring contracts, right? From Maxi Kleber to Gabe Vincent to Rui Hachimura to even Austin Reeves, right? You have Shake Milton, who's on a non-guaranteed. He's only making like $3 million or whatever, but still, like that's salary filler, right? Like the Lakers have several guys that are on expiring deals, and we saw how valuable those expiring contracts are, particularly come the trade deadline. Great example was the Brooklyn Nets with Dorian Finney-Smith. And I do still think that Brooklyn is a likely trade partner for the Lakers. We'll see, if they're able to work something out with like a Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, I'd still love. But point is that like Dorian Finney-Smith, Lakers were able to acquire Dorian Finney-Smith, even with Memphis offering a first, because the Nets valued the expiring contract due to the new CBA more than that first from the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, it was a protect first and all that stuff, but still, like there was value in the expiring contracts, which other teams, in my opinion, are probably going to have and want the same type of value, right? You're going to get teams that are like, hey, we need to get off of this guy or that guy or this guy and, long-term salary, etc. Brooklyn Nets is another example. Like Nick Claxton has multiple years on his deal, right? So, the Lakers being able to go and trade for a Claxton, take on that long-term salary while giving up expiring contracts, kind of give the Lakers a leg up on some of these other teams, right? But there's not just the Brooklyn Nets. I do think that there are going to be other teams that are like, hey, we want to kind of, clean the deck here a little bit. We want to kind of shuffle some things around a little bit next offseason or whatever, right? And we can do that using the Lakers and their players and their pieces. So there will be real value. But the value isn't going to be as high in the offseason as it will become trade deadline when you start getting teams that are like they thought they were going to be good and aren't, or, are good but like not quite where they want to be, or you get teams that, are tanking for the bottom and are like, we don't want to we want to trade this guy to help us go and tank for a top pick or whatever, but we don't want to take on long-term salary, right? Like, so let's clear this guy off or this vet off or, maybe a star or whatever, right? There's also teams that every like month, right? There's like a new star that's available on the trade block, whatever, right? Like there's always that out there. But, I look at the Lakers and that might, again, give them a leg up on some of these other teams where, maybe another team has more picks or whatever, right? I'm not talking about a Giannis or anything like that. I'm talking about like, one of these random guys, like a mid-tier guy or a high-tier guy, or even like an all-star or something like that, where it's like, hey, this guy makes a lot of sense for the Lakers, right? We don't have the assets and the picks, right? But, we could give a couple, like 3 pick swaps and then a bunch of expiring contracts and then maybe like a Dalton Connect or something like that. And a team might go like, hey, we could essentially clear the deck entirely, unload all the salary, get a couple pick swaps and then, a young player as opposed to like this team's offering us like 4 firsts. Yeah, it's a bunch of firsts, but if we trade the guy there, then the firsts aren't going to be as valuable because they're going to be a good team, and we're taking on like these two guys that have 4 years left on their deal or whatever, right? Like there are those type of scenarios and circumstances that could present itself as the season progresses into the trade deadline. Again, I'm not saying that the Lakers won't make any trades this offseason or that they shouldn't be trying to make trades this offseason or anything like that. And there are probably some teams that may look at it and go, hey, you know what? Like before we get into it, it'd be nice to kind of clear some money off, or, maybe we can, get a couple expiring guys for the trade deadline to kind of like, turn this guy into an expiring contract. So then we have the expiring contracts to then go make a trade at the trade deadline ourselves to go get a guy or two or whatever, right? Or, you get a guy that's like, hey, we really like the idea of Rui, right? Rui makes some sense for our team, but like we don't want to be locked up in Rui long term if it doesn't work out, right? So it's like, okay, well, or you get a team that's like, again, we could use a floor spacing big man, right? But like we don't like, if it doesn't work out, we don't want to be stuck. Okay, well, Maxi Kleba. We can bring in Kleba and see if he's a guy that, that kind of fits what we want to do. And if it works, cool, we can give him a new contract. If it doesn't work, then he's an expiring contract and we're set in that regard, right? So it just, again, there will be scenarios, there will be situations and circumstances, and there will be, benefits to the Lakers having all these expiring contracts. But again, I do think as we continue to progress and then ultimately progress into the trade deadline, I do think the further you get, the more that becomes valuable. The more that teams go, ooh, maybe we should call the Lakers, right? Maybe the Lakers are a team that makes some sense for us to maybe get a deal done because we can get off some expiring contracts get off some long-term contracts and then get some expiring contracts, put ourselves in a position to kind of, reset next offseason, right? And then, my guess, again, this is just my guess, I think what will happen is Lakers will trade for a center, whether it's a Mark Williams or whatever. They'll trade for a center. Then I think they'll probably get maybe 2-3 guys in free agency. So I think you'll see like 3 to 4 guys total added to the roster this season or this offseason, right? Go into the regular season, kind of evaluate, see what you need to get, see what you need to do. How do you, like, what about this? What about that? Okay, maybe we need another, guard. We need a better point guard in the backup role, or we need a better 2 guard, or we need some more shooting, or, we signed a Clint Capella and he just hasn't been it, right? Like, so it's like, maybe we need to look to, go get another center and make Capella our third center or something like that, whatever, right? You never know what's going to present itself as the season progresses. And then once we get to the trade deadline, I think you'll see the Lakers go and make a move for a guy or 2, right? Maybe even 3. And then that'll put the Lakers in the position where it's like, okay, there's the rehaul type thing. But we got like our key guys. That's like, okay, we got, these 3 guys this offseason, 2 of which were free agency signings. One was, the trade guy. And then now now we got our kind of, top 6 to 7 guys or whatever, right? That have been really good. And now let's kind of progress and evaluate. Now it's the evaluation stage, right? And let's say that they sign, Gary Trent Jr., right? You sign a Gary Trent, he's just not performing the way you need him to perform. And it's like, okay, like maybe we need a guy. Or that opportunistic trade becomes available. And it's like, okay, cool. Here's a guy that like has value, that makes sense, that we can get a guy, Miles Bridges, right? Hornets are like, let's get off of some guys. Let's do some things, right? Like, boom. Okay, cool. Maybe we can go and do something like that, make a key move here and there. And now all of a sudden, Lakers have basically gotten, 4, 5, 6 new guys over the course of this season, moving into the postseason. Let's go contend and win the championship, right? So, in a perfect world, obviously the Lakers get kind of everything done in one swoop, right? This offseason, Lakers go get 4, 5, 6 guys, roster rehaul, boom, here we go. Lakers are ready. They're a true contender now, and they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in all of basketball, right? That's the perfect world. That's the best case scenario. But again, realistically, given what the Lakers have, given how limited they are, I do think that they have value, but they are semi-limited compared to some of these other teams. Their one kind of ace in the hole are the expiring contracts. But again, those expiring contracts don't become insanely valuable till we get closer to the trade deadline. The longer we kind of go with those expiring contracts, the more value they gain. Right? It's just like an asset that's just, appreciates over time. It's essentially what the expiring contracts are. They are an asset that will appreciate over time, and then we can kind of cash them in once we get to the trade deadline. But you gotta get a center or two now, right? Even if you don't pull off the trade for a center right now and you go and sign, say, a Clint Capella, and he's your starter from day one, and you're kind of, okay, like we're gonna wait and try to find that right trade for the right center as we move close. Okay, then cool. But you gotta get at least a center, my opinion, two, but at least a center right now this offseason, and then ideally a couple bench guys at least. Can you get some bench depth at least? And, if you want to kind of keep your core starters intact, then fine. You keep your core starters intact until we get to the trade deadline and then make whatever moves are necessary. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? Kind of mixed in the middle. How do you feel? Love to hear it down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.